So Megan Gould, welcome. I was
Thank you.
I was trying to think of how we met, and I think it was when my son was riding in the chain gang when he was
Yes.
biking. And I don't know if it was before that though.
But I feel like I had been introduced to you before that. Like we met and had coffee. Oh, because it was when you were first starting Gomenanok
Oh, that's
and
right.
we had coffee but I don't remember how we got introduced.
No, because I liked what you were doing and I was like, "Hey, let's do a video series."
Oh, yes, that's right. We didn't do that. What happened?
I don't know. We did something, but then my website crashed and
I think I wrote a blog post for you when it first started and then like life took over and all sorts of other stuff happened.
I know.
We got to get back on that video series thing.
Yeah, that would be good. And even blog posts, blogging is such a good way for businesses to get, free
Hmm.
publicity.
Hmm.
And I'll ask people and they're like, "Oh no, I don't want to write." Like, don't it's so easy. Not
Yeah.
everybody likes to write.
It doesn't have to be super long either. That's the thing. And you don't, I had some hangups about blogging initially. I did it for a while. And then actually I found that I enjoyed making videos more. So I kind of shifted towards, I have a YouTube channel, so I have stuff up on YouTube, but I do like more live stuff on Facebook, or I'll do Zoom calls. I just find it easier for me, but I'm not opposed to writing a blog post. Um, but I do think there's a lot of people that feel like it needs to be perfect, like perfect words, perfect images, perfect everything. And I'm just like, I'm past that. Luckily, I'm past that point now where I can just kind of write it out as like a stream of consciousness, and just give some good information, tell a good story, and then let it do its thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. I switched from asking people to write blog posts to do video for me because I thought it was going to be an easier barrier to entry because it's quicker.
Hmm.
But then I realized people don't want to be on video. So
That is also a tricky part. Again, I think it comes down to people feeling like it has to be perfect. And the reality of the situation is people would much rather see something like this versus an extremely polished, like well shot, type of a thing. Like, because we can see that all the time on TV or at the movies or whatever. But if you're having a conversation, you'd rather it look like a conversation.
yeah. Well, anybody that knows me knows I am not polished.
That is not true.
You get what you get. Um, but anyway, okay, so let's talk about you.
Yeah.
And since we've known each other, I've seen your progression
Hmm.
from just a couple of videos, and now you've got a full membership site. So,
Hmm.
and you've got two parts of your business. So
I
lay
do.
it on us.
I do.
Tell us what all you're doing.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm a functional movement coach, and that kind of is a couple different things wrapped up in one. So over the whole course of my like coaching career, I've done everything from, oh gosh, like a personal trainer. I've been a triathlon coach. I've done a whole bunch of other things, and I at the same time developed a love of running, and so I kind of chased whatever I needed at the time in terms of certifications or credentials to be able to further my knowledge. And so I've just gotten to this point where I found a healthy, good mix of my own personal love of running and movement in the form of yoga with some more traditional strength training peppered in, as well as another concept called functional range conditioning, which basically means it gives you an idea of how the body is moving, and what capacity you have and where you could gain some more. So it's a little bit of everything that I kind of like to wrap together to help people go farther, faster, and stronger. And so that's kind of my 3-word tagline these days, because that's what I needed to do personally. And so that's kind of what I'm focused on helping my clients to do. So
And
yeah.
your clients are not me who like should be doing yoga but doesn't quite make it, but a couple times a month. Your clients are athletes.
Predominantly athletes, for sure. I think I attract athletes because that's how I identify myself. And like, just to be super clear, I am not fast. I'm not winning any races. I am. Sometimes I use the analogy like I'm kind of like a diesel engine because it takes me a long time to get warmed up, but then once I'm ready to go, like I can just run forever, literally. So yeah, so just like super clear, I'm not fast. But I have a love of running and endurance sports. And so I definitely attract athletes, predominantly runners, but I work actually with teams as well. And so I've done some work at the high school and collegiate level with a variety of different teams to bring this functional movement into their training protocol, whatever their season is. So everything from, gosh, like soccer to basketball, alpine skiing, field hockey, like all of those different components. And I've worked predominantly with the women's teams. And actually, I really love that because I go back to my high school days where we really didn't have any of this stuff. It was you showed up, you practiced, you played your sport, and then you went home. Like maybe you did some warm ups, maybe you did some cool downs and some stretches, but you just did what you did. And as a result of that, so I actually played softball in high school and all the way through college. And I developed a pretty decent case of tendonitis in my rotator cuff and a whole host of other things. And that was predominantly because I basically just showed up, threw my arm out and like hit and did all the other things, and then never got any functional strength or mobility training in order to maintain my body. So those are pretty much the two kind of groups. So individuals and teams.
Yeah. And so the clients, what are their goals, or how do you measure, you know, the the goals that they have and the value that you provide? Everyone's
Mhm.
different, I suppose.
Everyone is totally different for sure. No two bodies are the same and no two people's goals are the same. So it's kind of like a cop out answer, but at the same time, it's a very spot on answer because I can't compare someone's progress to me or another client or someone else. It's literally, you coming to the practice or to the online membership or even to some of my free YouTube resources and going through the practice and kind of assessing yourself compared to what I'm asking of you, and then thinking, oh, how much more do I have? Or is this a challenge for me, a struggle for me? And, what can I learn? Do I need to do this more? Am I okay in this particular area, but over here, I really need to do some more work? So everyone's goals are different. But predominantly it's people really just want to move better so that they can feel better and do whatever their thing is more and have less pain, right? So that's kind of the overarching umbrella and how I kind of like, that's the lens that I look at everything through and try to focus on, okay, how can I get this person as an individual to move better? And then on the team side, okay, I do a functional movement screening with the team. So I kind of take them through 7 different movement patterns that kind of give me an overview of their movement on a whole. And then I'll design some practices and specific, I hate to use the word drills, but that's kind of what they are, drills for the team so that they can kind of all come up to the same level. So they have kind of like a baseline of performance, So it's kind of a long and short answer at the same time. So individuals, getting them to move better, but on the whole for teams, it's kind of, again, bringing everybody up to the same level and ensuring that everyone is going to be in good playing order all the way through the season.
Right. And I think you explained it well. I don't think it's a cop out. I think that everyone is individual, and I think when people don't understand the benefit of a coach, it's that they don't realize that it's really individualized.
And
Same
the
with
other
a
thing
business
that is
coach or a
important,
nutrition coach, or yeah.
yeah. The other thing that I just wanted to mention that I think is really important is, and always go back to the coaches that I had in high school and in college. They showed up to coach and they coached their sport. And that's what they were paid to do. That's what they know. That's their jam, right? And now there's so much more to performance, physical performance for sports that is outside the purview of just, hey, how do you play the game of soccer or how do you play the game of softball? And that's where kind of people like me can come in and be that, you know, right hand person or like secondary, tertiary coach that can kind of help keep the team, again, like I said, in good working order and make sure that they're not going to have, you know, the same rotator cuff or ankle or knee or back injuries. I mean, all of which we've all had at some point, right? As athletes, whether they're low on the scale of just like, you know, coming back from a rolled ankle all the way up to kind of where I was with severe sciatic pain in my right hip and a completely like, you know, blown out right shoulder from throwing all day, every day.
Right. Right. Um, so that's a good segue into the other business that you have, which
Yeah.
is essential oils and how they fit into the whole puzzle of health and well-being.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually something that I kind of stumbled on because I wasn't feeling so well. I went to a yoga class taught by a friend of mine, and I had like a huge. I was battling. It was either a cold and seasonal allergies, or like a combination of both. But I like showed up to class, and I was super stuffy. And she was like, "What is going on with you?" And I said, "I don't know. I can't breathe." And she said, "Just give me." She said, "You're not allergic to anything, are you?" And I said, "No." Hold out your hand. She put a couple drops of an essential oil blend called Breathe in my palms. And she's like, here, rub them together, cup them over your nose. And then whatever extra you have, just kind of put it on the outside of your nose and on your chest. And within like 15 minutes, I could totally breathe. Like I wasn't stuffy anymore. And after class, I went up to her and I was like, what sort of like magic voodoo stuff
Voodoo
did you give
magic.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that kind of started me down the rabbit hole of essential oils. And since then, I have my own business now where I help other athletes just kind of incorporate them into their, you know, daily routine and training so that, again, it all kind of feeds up to moving better and having less pain, as well as some of the other components of being an athlete, which are good digestion, especially if you're a runner. I used to get really bad kind of what I call sour stomachs, and that can be a real pain, especially if you're like mid-run and you have one of these happen. Sleep, you know, stress and mood. So kind of the whole picture of wellness and well-being kind of wrapped in there. So yeah, that's my other second love. I love to talk to people about essential oils and how they can kind of just seamlessly incorporate them into their routine to just take it up just a notch, you know? So yeah, so much fun.
No, that's good. I see you've got a stream going in the background. What it must be an oil diffuser.
Oh yeah, my diffuser. I couldn't tell if you can see that, if it's in the,
Just
yes.
a little bit. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
All day, every day around here. Yeah, totally.
Um, so COVID-19,
Yep.
it has turned everything upside down.
Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit about how it's changed your business, if it has at all. I know your new membership site has kind of come about since this has been happening.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
just,
for sure. At the very beginning, obviously, all of my in-person work was the first thing to go because school was canceled, so no more working with teams. My group classes I was teaching at the Bond, those are obviously done. And then any in-persons that I was doing, even if they were one-on-ones at the very beginning, I just stopped because obviously that was the protocol, that was the mandate. And so the first couple of weeks I was kind of in limbo. Are we going to go back? Are we not going to go back? And so I kind of just took those 2 weeks off in the sense that I didn't worry too much about what was going to happen. But like you had mentioned, I actually, in the background for a while, had been working on having this idea about having a membership site where I could house all of the stuff that I was creating, all of the videos and the content and some of the audios that I was creating to be able to, you know, have my own little site. And so when COVID hit, it was actually kind of a good kick in the pants for me to get that thing going. And so I spent as you know, as you can appreciate, there's some technical stuff that you have to kind of, wrap your brain around, and what talks to what, and how do you get this thing over here. And so there was a couple weeks where I really, buckled down and got all of that situated. But I launched that last week. So it took me a little bit longer than I had anticipated to get it going, but it was time well spent to kind of get everything set up on the back end. So now the nice part is I have the membership site up. So it's specifically for those two groups. So individuals, primarily runners, and I have some teams, excuse me, that are set up on the back end there as well. So one example is actually the Conval softball team. They have their own membership site in there. So I've set them up with practices. We do some live stream classes, and I've given them some drills and whatnot to be able to use to do during kind of their off season before they could potentially come back and have like a summer/fall season. So.
Right. And that's the benefit of coaching, is that what to get them to do, what they have been doing. And yeah.
And I have a particular love for softball, obviously, because that was my sport as well. And so I can appreciate, the physical demands. And also I think back to what I wished that I had had. And so I'm just like pouring all of this stuff into, I think like they log in there and they're like, what is going on? But I'd rather them have all of the resources at their fingertips, to be able to use, versus be looking for them and not have them. So yeah, so that's basically what I've been spending my time on, is creating content both for the membership and as well as sequencing for the live streams, which basically happen once a week for my individual members, and then once a week now for my team members as well. So.
Right. But you live stream all the time. You're always on,
I do.
which is great. Every morning there she is. Giving us some ideas and tips. And yeah. And so where can people find you?
I'm all over the place. Definitely here on Facebook, my business page. But if you're more into YouTube and you want to check out some functional movement resources, we can link that up as well as Instagram. I'm quite literally everywhere. But if people have comments or questions, or they want more information, the easiest place for people to go is just my website, and that's just Meghan-Gould.com. Meghan with an H.
Okay, cool. So you've got individual coaching, membership site, but then also you've got some free stuff too. So it's a good
yeah, I do have some free stuff. Definitely. The YouTube channel has a lot of stuff up there, and there is a free pre-run dynamic warm-up as well that I like to give away to people, because that is, I think, the biggest faux pas that I see amongst runners is just, we get up, and I'm completely guilty of this too. And I told you before, like everything I create is because I've made this mistake before. And so I'm trying to help like shortcut or, keep people from making the same mistakes I did. So I used to just get up and throw on all my stuff and then head out the door and go for a run. But since, learning all of the physical sciences and doing my yoga teacher training and doing functional range conditioning and all of this stuff, it's kind of a no-brainer that we should be warming up before we run. So I created this pre-run dynamic warm-up. It's about like 15 minutes long, but it's more of like a template. So you watch it a couple times, get the hang of the movements that are in it, and then you can kind of pick and choose which ones are appropriate for you, what you like, what you don't like. So we can also link that up for people as well. They can snag that.
Yeah, for sure. And from a business standpoint, I think it's a great model because, if people are just being introduced to you and what you do, you've got some options there to help them. And then if they want to take it to that next level, you've got that option too. So
yeah, totally. There's plenty of, there's tons of free resources on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram for yoga and for functional movement. My only caveat is that I think you have to really pay attention to the source. You want to be sure that you're not just doing it for the sake of, making a pretty pose or, doing a really great and cool thing with your body. And so that's kind of the underlying theme with all of my stuff, is that it's not for aesthetics, it's to create resilience within the body. And so while I think that they're, super cool if you're able to put your foot behind your head or, do a wheel, a back bend, those are great, but to what end? So just, that's my like thing that I always like to throw out to people. It's great if you want to do it, but just know why you're doing what you're doing before you just hop in and, give it a whirl. Because oftentimes that's how you'll end up injured. I
Yeah.
hate to say it, but
Yeah. No, and that's the coaching part
yeah,
of making
for
sure
sure.
people are doing it
I can't, it's like
in the
my
right way.
universal disclaimer. Like I love talking about it, but then at the same time, I always have to throw that in.
Cool. All right. So we are recording this. We'll put it up onto Facebook, but I'll
Yeah.
absolutely add the links, and I'll probably put it up on the website too, now that it's
That'd be
recorded.
great.
So
Yeah,
that'll
that's
be
awesome.
a way that people can get in touch with you. So this was good.
All the ways.
Yeah, all the
All
way.
the platforms, all the ways.
And maybe when this whole thing is over, I'll see you out around somewhere. Probably not running. But
I mean, we could go for like a short run walk.
true.
We could.
I know. I get out as much as I can, but I might
I
need
know.
extra motivation.
I know. Well, you have a good running route near you. That's like I used to live over in that route and in that neighborhood. So I used to run Old Street Road all the way over, Cheney down Pine Street, all the way around. So
Yeah.
not necessarily super flat, but
Well, I don't know if there's any place that's flat.
no.
But yeah, this road gets used a lot.
Mhm.
A lot, which is fine.
Mhm.
Which is fine.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And stay safe and stay healthy.
I will. You too. Let me know if you want to chat about doing more, videos or blog posts or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
that would be
happy
good.
to contribute.
That would be good. Content is king, right?
Content is king for sure.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
See ya.